All right, the Finance and Government, General Government and Library will come to order for our liaison, Town Council and Board of Finance review. So the roll, Mark Krasinski. Yes.
Here.
Rita, is she here?
No.
No, I'm not seeing her, but she's supposed to be coming. Maria Naughton is supposed to be coming. She on? No?
No.
Luke Kaufman,
No.
Christina Ross,
Yeah.
Penny Young, Colin Dobbin, and Judy. Nutt. All right. All right, Colin, you want?
Did you guys get me? I'm here, just making sure.
So you're gonna, Ann's presenting. Colin, do you want to say anything?
Josh.
Oh, Josh is presenting.
And I read the deck and I have a few questions. We go through.
Oh, start, okay, all right.
All right, let me just share my screen.
Stand.
All right. So here is the budget presentation for FY24 for General Gov. I'll start with the expense sides for the departments and just let me know if you have questions as we go through to the departments. I'll kind of highlight some of the major increases and what's behind them. So starting with the first selectman. And so at the top, I've put the overall increase to 1.64, which you'll find at the bottom right here is the overall increase in expenses. And in parentheses is the percentage increase if you compare the FY24 budget to the revised budget of FY23. So that takes into account if during FY23 we've hired someone and the full-time salary line has gone up, this kind of pushes that out there. It's like the changes that have taken place during FY23 that we're not asking for anything new in FY24, it kind of irons those out.
So it's not actual, but it's still budget to budget.
It's still budget to the revised budget, correct? Yeah. Actuals, we're only 6 months in. We do have a year to date, but it's it's only about halfway through.
Yeah.
Probably when I did this a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or so. So in the first selectmen's budget, it's going up 1.6%. The two major increases are in the professional service research and planning line for $2,500. This line is used for the transcription services for the WPCA. They're kind of expecting more to come over the next year. So they're filling out the funding for that line in anticipation of those changes. The second increase is $2,000 to meals and events. This line is really what the two major employee events that happen every year, the Christmas party and I think a food truck party, as well as any kind of retirement recognition events like when the chief left or things of that nature. And I think last year they pretty much ran dry very early on, but I guess we're talking about this year. So this brings it in line with what's closer to what the actuals are.
Can I ask a question, Josh?
Sure.
Are we including anything for Channel 79 in the board of?
I can highlight where Channel 79 is. I don't think it falls under, it doesn't fall under first selectmen, it falls under its own
Its own line item?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
I don't think there's been any change to that yet.
Well, I'm hoping there is soon. There is, yeah.
I think there may be something in the works that I've heard, but I don't, there hasn't been anything in this budget that reflects any big changes.
I don't know if that's gonna be enough to revamp the whole system.
So, and in addition, any ARPA money isn't taken into account.
No, I know that.
But where are you booking all the ARPA money in and out? I mean, is that under?
So the ARPA money I put under grants, so it's sitting
Yeah.
under grants by
Oh,
itself,
so it's
so
on the
that we
grant,
can,
okay,
keep it together for reporting purposes.
yeah.
And we have a project code under grants for that.
And what's the breakdown of the 50,000 for economic development?
That's a good question. I can,
No, that was the three things from last year.
it was.
Not
It was
another.
marketing,
No, that hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
Oh, all right.
It's marketing, the Chamber of Commerce.
commerce, and there was one other one, and I,
Yeah.
yeah. I can see it written, but I can't remember. I'll get it out to you, the three.
50,000?
Yeah, but I'm not, you said actual in 22, and then you said approved in 23. So that's not the same rollover of
Actual
50,000, right?
In 22,
In 23 was when they increased it another, I think, $20,000.
correct.
20 or something in the budget because of these initiatives there was 3 initiatives that they wanted, and I apologize, I can't think of the third, at that time, so that's when they put it up to the 50. But I'll get an email out to you today.
But is it 50 again in 24?
It is.
It is,
I
yeah.
think it's.
So it's
carrying those initiatives
100,000 plus the 15?
Well, they don't, if they haven't used it,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
it depends on if they're gonna use it or not. They've used very little to date. I'll get an update from Tucker and have her give us where
Just
she's.
curious, because that adds up.
Why are we getting?
Why are we getting another 50? That's right.
Is economic development the committee?
Mhm.
I don't understand why they would have a line budget.
It's not,
It's for initiatives.
it's initiatives outside for different.
I know it was-
Something
yeah.
will tell me right now. I'll text her to give it to me.
There were 3 initiatives
Maybe
last
that's
year.
not what should be an issue, why?
But are those the ones we already approved?
Last year.
You approved them
they were.
last year,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same
So nothing
ones,
had
but
changed
I'll get the
from last year.
reminder. I should have.
I think, oh, you mean the initiatives, right? So are the initiatives ongoing year over year?
Yeah, but if we approved it, it looks like it's a new 50. But it's a carryover of a 50?
No, this is the new, right,
Yes,
So-
I see what you're saying, it's the same, it's
It
another
looks like
50 coming
it's
through.
another.
So if they
50.
spend
It is
23, it could be
That's
another
what it
50,
looks
yeah.
like. Yeah,
No, you're right, you're right.
okay. Wow, that's a lot.
Any other questions on first select? We'll get that answer in a couple minutes, I'm sure Tom will.
She really is.
All right. So on to the finance department. So finance is up 10.5%. The majority of that is the addition of the grant writer position. Without the grant writer position, that increase of 11.7% for full-time salaries drops down to 1.9%, which is just a more normal budget to budget number. The part-time is up 43% because of the addition of the associate risk manager position, which is taken by Tom Sadler. Who has been, going from site to site,
Yeah.
being basically on call at any hour.
Well,
An addition of 6% to the service contracts, which is an increase in our Munis software costs. We just went through an upgrade in December. I think it's a lot better. I think most people probably agree. And this is just kind of the costs that are associated with that upkeep.
And just, it hasn't been upgraded in over 5 years. So we've had 5 years of not putting any investment into it. It was
Sunset.
sunset. I can say it. December 23rd, 24th, you got it done.
So Christmas Eve.
It was down, yeah, close to Christmas Eve. Oh, yeah, you got the confirmed Christmas Eve.
Yeah, sure.
So we haven't put any investment into it all that time, and we were forced to have to upgrade. The upgrade is actually a lot better for us because it opens up now a lot of sub-modules that we should be using that we really didn't have the capability before because they weren't linked together behind the scenes. So it's actually good. I'm pretty excited that we did it.
but what is the amount when you say the increase?
So
So the total amount is service contracts is up from 45,000 to 48,000
48.
and change.
This is why we need it in front of us, the actual hard print.
I can print out copies if you
Do you want me
want.
to go get some coffee? Do you want to eat?
We always have that in our budget
Yeah.
books. I mean,
So this is in the budget book.
But
Last,
you haven't got it
right,
yeah.
correct.
yet. You'll get it probably this week, but
Do you want a copy now when I run off? for you.
That would be
For
great.
your presentation,
Sure.
just for your presentation.
Are you, Anne, are you happy with Munis? Because there were differences of opinion. Would you have done something else or would you still do something else?
There's really, Munis has been the Cadillac of municipal software. The other
Well,
one
that's
is-
why we put it in, but then there was disagreement out
There's,
there.
the new one's coming out, but there's not many people jumping yet. I haven't seen anything that shows it as a better. And we haven't really used the modules to the extent we should be using them.
Is that
Are
what-
you,
is that
are you on the
what-
same system as the Board of Ed?
I think we're a
We
couple
both-
versions newer.
We're point something, point 2
Like,
version
you-
newer, they
you-
might be point 3, we're point 5. But
We are newer now.
we're on a newer version than them, 2 different packages though, we don't share, we're on 2 different packages. We still don't share? Yeah, you know what the reason was, because I was very puzzled by that when I first came into go, why can't we just be on the same one? The problem is payroll, because part of the issue is they went on their own and they have their own EIN number. So you can't combine them, because we're on one EIN, employer identification number, they're on another. And because we're on 2 separate ones, it has to be 2 versions of Munis. And the reason that I was floored when I first put, their payroll is in-house, our payroll is third party. So you have to have separate EIN numbers because you can't have them on a in-house and us third party on the same system. You can't do it. So we have to all be on the same EIN number to combine it into one system.
They did that on purpose. Pardon me.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we were on Munis at the time.
No, but
They did it 3-4 years ago, I think.
yeah, right.
They went to a different EIN number because they wanted to bring their payroll in-house, and they have to do that because to be together, their 941s are separate. You have to do it if we're third party, they're in-house. So
Which means you still can't get into that numbers, correct?
no, I can't.
See, I just still think it should be all one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
But of course, I said that 15 years ago, not for
I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not, yeah, I'm not saying it can't be done. It can because other towns have done it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just, you have to put the mechanisms in place and you have to work on the whole payroll EIN numbers. There's a lot of unloading that because all their plans, but
What was the theory or the thought
Sorry.
behind doing it in-house?
without going through it, because going on, when I was on the Board of Ed side, you wouldn't believe the problems they have with their payroll, believe it or not.
In-house.
Third party.
Oh,
It's better to bring it in-house because the stuff that their payroll, what happens to their payroll, you need control of it in-house. You need to be able to on top of it because a simple, if I'm getting in the weeds, tell me to stop, but the simple thing like, someone goes on a leave of absence, the
Right.
teacher goes on a leave of absence. For us, they stop working here, we stop paying them, if that's the case, and they come back here. For a teacher, they get paid 2 weeks in advance before they start school. Okay, so they have 2 weeks in the bank already. You stop paying them here, you then have to, and they come back here, you stop paying them, but now to bring them back, it's at a different number. Because you have to calculate the fact that this was all unpaid, but there are already 2 weeks that they've been paid upfront. Now their number can be different at the end. That's like, little things like that, somebody else
It's kind
takes.
of a programming thing.
It is, but nobody, it is, and without knowing their side, there's a thing called position budgeting. So you budget every position, and that pulls into Munis, into the budget. And Munis has like contracts, which you can set, it's a lot of work to get up front and manage. Can be done, but I don't know, I haven't seen Munis in a while on that side to know what it's like. But Board of Ed payrolls, there's no explaining how cumbersome they are, to be honest with you. Because I did it both sides. The town was so easy. The Board of Ed for me was, and I was filing a 941, a joint 941 for both. It was painful.
I understand that we can't combine the systems because of what you just
Yeah.
explained, but that doesn't mean that they can't give you access to their system.
Yeah, they have access to ours because they want to see, so we have, what are the bonded accounts, 2301? 33, sorry,
3601,
3601, 2910.
and also their expensive accounts, their general fund.
Their general fund, because they're the one line on our books, they have access to anything we call 4700, I think it is their Board of Ed.
But why isn't it reciprocal?
Because maybe in the Board of Ed's eyes, there's no reason for me to see their numbers. I'm just,
No,
you know, it's,
That is the answer.
I'm just saying the history of no,
This is going on.
going through,
True.
you know, this is like my
Not
fourth town.
her or new.
Yeah, so Bridgeport was shared, I saw everything as CFO, Wilton was shared, we brought them in-house. They were on a separate EIN number, we brought them back in.
But they're doing their own payroll in-house.
They do their own
Yeah.
payroll in-house, we
After
brought it in,
going
it took a
through
while,
all that.
it took a
Yeah.
while, but, it's cumbersome and.
Some things never change, right?
Oh, but they
But something
just go
has to
around, it's the same
Yeah.
questions, concerns, and then it
so-
ends up.
But, you know, it does, it's a lot of work to get it up and running, but it's not, once it is, you know, it's decided.
Trying to be so suspicious.
No, I saw both sides, so I understand what you're saying, yeah, I saw both sides.
What kind of service contracts are we still using here?
So other than
Somebody
Munis,
upstairs.
Oh, sorry, let's go through the other.
Is that what it is?
I think so,
Which
yeah.
one?
The
Service
service contracts, other than Munis, or
Is
is
it
that
just
just
Munis?
Munis?
Munis, printers, we,
Oh,
the
just
copiers are
printers.
sent down, if we have a copier, which we do,
All right,
that's sent to us, it's not kept in IT. Let's go back a minute. Anyone want a copy of the presentation?
oh, yeah, I'll take.
Sorry,
it.
my notes are on it, so just
Yeah.
ignore them.
So the only other change to finance was a 4.8% increase to the professional service audit. This is just because of the expected rate increase from our external auditors, just because of staff costs.
Hey, Josh, this is Colin. I was just noticing it went from 43,000 a few years ago to 97,000 in 3 years. Is that across the board? Did everybody experience those type of increases?
I believe so. I know they do have staffing challenges now, and I think that, and not to mention inflation, but you're right, it goes from the 43 actuals to the 68 actuals up to the budgeted FY '23 of 92,000. And
But that's professional service audit. This is what we're paying for
Yeah.
our
for
outside
External.
external audit.
correct.
So who are we auditing this year that's come to that kind of money?
Who? Us.
Meaning,
The entire town?
Yes.
Including
And it does
the Board
include,
of Ed?
I think that does include the Board of Ed, I believe. yes.
but this is at the recommendation of the audit committee. We always audited independent small sections of the town that we had concerns about.
So that
And you
may
pay
be
for
what,
each one. Is that what that is?
that may be what comes into the professional services audit line, which is the one right below it.
What is
That's
that?
for more internal audits that are recommended by the.
Well, then what's the other one?
That is the yearly audit that we do. For
So
the-
that's our CPA audit.
Yes.
Review, so to
Right.
speak. Is it 90? Okay, now they were going to bid that out again?
I think they're looking for
They're-
next year to be.
Oh, they're
bidding
doing
out.
it next year? Okay, all right. Just
Well, they
curious.
would look now for next year.
I think that is the case.
Yeah. So the independent, so this is just, maybe I'm not asking it right, but we based our budget on budgeted numbers year after year. Where's the budget versus the actual?
So the actual for FY '23 right now is at 17,000, but it's not a really good number because we are still currently undergoing the audit right now. So we haven't made those
No,
payments
no.
yet.
I didn't clarify the question, I'm sorry. Where is the actual for each department, for each line item
For what
of the
year?
budget?
For which-
Not last year, let's say
For
for that.
22.
Yeah,
22 is the second line, is the actuals. It's 21, 22 actuals,
okay.
and then the 23 both budgets were approved and revised. And then what we have year to date, which again could have a lot of timing, obviously, and then what the submission is.
Okay, so what happens to the money that has been over budgeted?
So if a line gets over budgeted,
It
It
goes into
could
the
be-
general fund,
well, it could make up for other lines that are under budgeted.
right?
So there are budget transfers that take place throughout the year that the Board of Finance either reviews or approves.
Right,
Those kind of happen 5 to 10 per month.
Mhm.
But if there's any remaining funds, it goes right to the fund balance. Like how the Board of Finance budgets the 5.5, I think, last year, 5.5 million to draw down on the fund balance. So any underspend would kind of lessen that impact on the fund balance.
so why is it that I don't see the actual from last year into this year's budget estimate?
the actual from last year. So FY 22's actual, correct, right?
Let's go back to, in 2022, we had a budget amount,
Yes,
but now it's become an actual.
yes.
So why don't we base any increases based on the actual and not the budgeted?
Because the actuals are only 6 months into it.
But if we see year to year what the trend is.
So
then
we
you
do,
can-
when planning out the budget for FY 20,
Never had that question for years.
so
Yeah.
when looking,
Well,
when,
it's hard
They
in the
never
middle of the
have.
year.
Okay,
Really
but the
hard.
question is why?
so when we do put together the budget before the Board of Selectmen, we do meet with the departments to go over why there are changes from FY 21, 22, 23, and then how we build 24 from that informed information.
Right,
So these are usually the years that we go by during that process. Sometimes if there's a question, we'll go back 5 years or go back further into the actuals. We could include those numbers, but it would be too much to be really looking at here.
Yeah, Josh, I actually have sort of a related question on that too. The
Sure.
banking and transaction fees, which are the last item here, it looks
Sure.
like we spent $280 one year and $1,200 the next year on banking fees, but we budgeted 16,000 last year and we're budgeting 16,000 again this year.
Sure.
It seems to me that based on the history, we're budgeting way too much money for the actuals. And in fact, Andrew Brooks came in and talked to us and talked about how he's getting free banking now from, I guess it's Webster Bank or Chase or one of them. So what's the basis of budgeting 16,000 if the actual expenditure was 1,200?
That is a good question. I'd have to look back to see if that might be related to, if that's related to COVID during those years. If
Who are we
there's banking,
using now? What bank?
Webster still.
so
Webster?
we are using Webster.
When are we changing over?
I don't think we have a date for changing over.
So I'll give you the background anyway.
You're going from Webster to bank?
Chase.
Well,
We were,
let me tell you, Chase, because I'm a retiree, but it's not because of that. You don't ever pay a banking fee. or
So they're wondering
transaction
about the banking and transaction
If you-
fees.
So keep so much money.
no, so it's not only just Webster, it's our credit card fees. So we offer credit card services for Park and Rec, parking, well, not so much party, the parking revenue for us.
Transfer station.
Transfer station.
platform.
Anything general fund credit card outside of pool has its own credit card fees. We pay a fee for that service to have the credit card service.
Parking also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why are we, I'm not even paying that. Why are we paying a fee for that if you're using their credit card?
The whole processing and then managing it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty high.
They're very,
Is
very.
it that high everywhere?
Some of them are like, I know tax collector, we have invoice cloud. And what they do is they actually pass that fee on. That goes on to the taxpayer, I think, I'm not sure.
So-
With the credit card, when it's.
Oh, no, I get that. That's
Yeah,
different.
so
No,
the
that's,
credit
I'm
card-
talking about your credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
credit
You're
card-
talking about like when they pay taxes and stuff.
Right,
Oh,
but
that's
you have
different.
people
Yes,
paying
I get it.
for
Yeah.
basketball. and it's on
That's in
credit
that
card.
line. Okay,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
that's all the fees for that. And we're trying to, before the revenue and the fees were somewhat netted, from accounting, it should be gross revenue and fees. So we're trying, a couple of things are changing right now to the good for us from an automation standpoint. And then, we're trying to separate them out. So to show
Okay,
gross
no, I
revenue.
get it. But it is a big increase in 2 years.
So I think it's
From-
because of COVID, since parking.
The
Yeah.
programs for,
With the 281 in the actual 21 and the 23 year to date is not established, but the revised was 16.8.
so this was a question, this was an indirect question in our audit for 22.
Oh,
Because
Okay.
the revenue that came in the revenue that came in for 22 for the programs, Park and Rec programs, was significantly higher than the years before. We were like, we thought it was COVID, but we go pre-COVID. The COVID revenues and the pre-COVID revenues were pretty much the same, believe it or not. 22, the programs expanded even more, and that was the problem where we were expanding and we needed this self-sustaining fund, so we could actually have the program. So we had budget problems in 22 that I had to ask for additional funds. So the fees obviously go up based on that revenue coming in. So I think we went from, it was like somewhere in the 400s to the high 500s thousand in revenues coming in for the park and rec programs. And it's budgeted, I think it.
No, that would require transactions fees. No, I totally get that.
Yeah,
I was wondering, when you said credit card, I thought you meant your own, that should be taken care of.
No, this is
All
when
right.
people pay for
Okay,
programs.
no, that's different.
And we're looking at all the credit card programs right now to see what the fees are.
Okay. Do we have any breakdown on professional service audit that we are asking our auditors to do this year?
So
I
the
mean, what, the extra
special
audits,
one or the
not,
regular? The
well, the additional ones, yeah.
The additional one we haven't gone out for yet for this year.
Oh, we
I
haven't.
don't know if we will. Only because you probably know, we're filing the audit. We had some extensions because things that had to get done. So what we're doing is getting it in place and then bring someone else, bring a firm in, because all the firms are struggling just with getting the regular audits done. So to take
You
on
mentioned
additional
that.
work.
Yeah, that's
I see the
incredible.
GFOA when people are going, this was last year, and most of the RFPs will start coming out probably in March or so, if people want to go out. Last year, they were saying, is anybody having problems getting an audit firm replying to your RFP? They just don't have the man hours taken on them, unfortunately.
No, you mentioned that. That's it.
And what is wrong with the firm that you have now, if anything?
There's nothing wrong with the firm we have now. They're struggling with staff too. They say when they brought their contract forward, their contract increased a bit. And they said it's because they're trying to retain staff. They can't because, and it's probably the generation too. Back in the day, they did the hours, they did the, pay your dues. They don't want to do it anymore. So they go in, they get 2 or 3 years of experience and now they go to corporate right away. So they can't hold on to those junior partners or, the kids just say coming out of school, they can't hang on to them. So they're trying to make it more beneficial financially for them to stay. Because they're going to other places in corporate. It's changed the whole.
The dynamic.
Yeah, it really
huge,
has. With a
yeah.
lot of industries, it's really changed the dynamics.
Yeah.
And generational things.
Oh, it's.
We don't wanna work.
That's what my son said. He had a hard day. He got 3 pieces.
I got my resume out there. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? The way I understand it, and of course I haven't worked in this environment, but the way I understand it, you go through all these different codes to get in and, be online and they can monitor anytime you're not there. And that would drive me crazy.
I had a staff member do that during COVID. Our IT was, for the first selectman, was, I want to know who's working and who's not. Can we go into behind the scenes and see who has their new roles or whatever is up? And they're like, yeah, we can do it. And one person was on at 8 o'clock every day in the morning till 6:30 at night. Same time, every time. And they're like, how can that possibly?
Clocked it.
They put something on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know
And
how
they
to
just
do
kept it
this.
on the whole time. And I was like, the fact that you
I
had
know.
mind to find it out. Because the work wasn't getting done
Oh,
with this particular person. I'm like, well, what did you do this day? Well, this. I'm like, how did you work this length of time and put in for overtime? What did you do?
Well, this was the
So-
point that was
oh, yeah.
made when he took over Twitter. That it just boomed. It's
Yeah,
like
so-
everybody was aware.
It was funny.
Oh, I-
Funny but not, but
It's
you know,
problematic.
the inventive ways.
So, on to the tax assessor. The tax assessor is up 3.7%. The only real increases are a $4,000 increase to the 401A employer contribution line. It's really just increased to affect what the actuals have been year over year. That's an increase from 4,022 up to 8,000, but the actuals have it at 6,022. Service contracts is up 4,900, which is a shared. It's a shared number with tax collector. Tax collector is also up 4,900 for the QDS cloud system that they're now going to be utilizing, which takes a little bit of work off of our IT. Their OS contract services, office equipment lease, rental, and advertising, those are all have minor increases just due to the reval that's currently going on for next year. Any questions on the assessor?
Advertising up too.
The advertising is up $300 there.
Most of his costs are related to the rebound starting. October 1st. It's a full revamp.
It's a full.
It's a
Yeah,
full,
yeah.
yeah, it's not a statistical.
When is that being done, November?
It starts as of October 1st of this year.
But
So
it
they,
takes a year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
so,
whole year
it'll
before.
be based on this October's date, but they start getting their sales data, I think different things now, and then what happens on that October 1st date. Then they have, it's pretty quick how they have to turn it around, but they're starting, I think they just signed the contract.
So using the same provider, they've been,
Visions?
Vision.
Vision.
Yeah.
It's them and QDX now has a company, Equality. They have a revaluation. They're trying to get into the market because Vision really has a lot of the market in
Oh,
Connecticut.
huge, yeah.
So you're kind of at a, that would be, at one point, they were trying to do a shared services with different towns for assessing program. But you'd have one company, Vision. I don't know how you would actually do it, but Equality, I think it's Equality or Quality Assessment is trying to break into the market now, but they're going with Visions right now.
Yeah, I think we found them pretty reliable.
Yeah,
Yeah, we outsourced it, Jesus, I'm the last one that outsourced it, it's been a long time we've had them.
Any other questions on the assessor?
Yeah.
On to the tax collector. It is a 4.8% increase. That's an increase of 13% for part-time. This represents a $1 per hour increase to the part-timer salary, which I don't think has been raised in a number of years. An increase, well, again, the 4,900 increase for service contracts with QDS Cloud, and an increase of 13% for postage, just due to increased printing costs and more.
Is that part-time with benefits or part-time without?
she's not with benefits because she only comes in during tax season, so it's not enough
Yeah,
hours.
so it's seasonal, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Josh, a question on the postage
Sure.
for anyone within the town hall. What is our postage rate with the post office, especially when we do mass mailings? I mean, do we do
That's
it?
a good question.
It's like 2 or 3 cents below market.
It is.
Yeah, so definitely it's lower. It should be, with a permit, you get a permit.
Right,
And then,
but we have that in place and we're doing it.
we should have, yep.
Okay.
We'll just confirm it, but, as far as I know, we have that in place.
Is that for every bill?
Should be, yes.
So we do, I haven't gotten any letters lately from the town, but is it a meter kind of stamp or? do
It should
you
be when they pick up with
traditional?
with the permit and it goes through the permitting machine using our permit on it. So, I'll just get the mechanics because it gets picked up here, but I believe because it's our permit, they put it under.
Does every department have one?
It should be all under the same permitting number. What usually happens, and this, I'm just saying how it typically happens, and I'll just make sure with us, is you pay for postage up front with a lot of it, and then you delegate it out based on the usage, but I have to see what we have.
Okay, so where do departments would go to get it stamped? Does it go to a mailing?
It goes out here to
Yeah,
where our mail slot is, and we have a mail come and pick it up every day for us. It's wrapped up as mail slot.
no, who actually stamps it?
The
Each department?
post office,
So it leaves here blank
yes,
and the post office then does it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Perfect. But I'll confirm it, let me confirm it.
No,
because
it's
We
fine.
don't have any postage machines in here, unless,
Sorry, not a big deal.
but I just want to confirm it because I like to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the collector? So on to legal. Legal's at 350 for this year. It's traditionally budgeted around 350. Last year, 23, it got lowered to 250. And with the expectation that legal costs will be going down. And this
Not
is
now.
this is budgeting closer to what we expect.
Yeah.
24 is going to be
No, I
at
get
350.
Hopefully not forever.
I have a question. How often are we supposed to bid out the legal contract?
That's a good question.
I have to look at it, I don't know. I don't remember the last time.
I don't know that it's policy regulated. I think
What was
it
the
is,
settlement?
what is the industry norm?
Standard to keep, because of consistency with some of this, I don't
I'm not sure
know.
about
Yeah,
that.
like auditors, you do every 5 years, and it doesn't have to be firm, it can be just the principles.
What is the base price for their retail?
Ooh. I want to say 8,500, so it's that 90, yeah, that's what you're talking, the monthly retainer.
No, well, the base contract, what is it
I think
called?
I haven't seen the actual contract, but I think it's $8,500 a month is their
No.
retainer. I'm not sure what their pricing is on partners for outside of what's not covered under the retainer.
Okay, so if it's 250 versus 100 and whatever for the base retainer, what are we spending additional monies on? Departments?
Different departments will have different things that they need to find out, probably planning and zoning right now,
Okay.
building, contracts that we do for,
Or whatever?
yeah,
Okay.
30, I always get this wrong, 3080G?
8030G.
8030G. Thank you, got that on the right.
Yeah.
So that's a big component of
Okay.
what could that be this year.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Any other questions on it? On to HR. So HR has an increase of about 2.5%. There's an increase for 3,500 for tuition reimbursements and training. This is because of 2 employees who are currently working on their advanced degrees. There's an increase of $1,000 for trainings, and that is in line with what's been the actuals for the past few years. An increase in program meeting expense for $700, which is the line that's used to support the events like Blood Drive, Healthy Hearts, and Stress in the Workplace.
Go back to one slide.
Sure. It's an increase as a whole of 10,000. That's
Yeah, I know, I was just focused on.
Did you mean 70,000 instead of 700?
no. The program meeting expense is up from 500 to 1,200.
Okay.
700. The actuals year to date are 2,400. So, I mean, it's used to support a lot of really good programs like those listed. So I think that's kind of why they've
Do
gone.
we require state drug and alcohol testing for certain?
So,
Yeah, it's in certain contracts that they have to do it. Yeah.
But that's all in your, it's
So-
all in HR, it's not
yeah, that's
in the,
Not all.
as in like in police and fire.
yeah, I was thinking. it'd be
They're in their
police and
contract. Well,
fire. No?
there's a change for this year, for, I believe it's fire. The contract had called for they could go to their own doctor and get their physicals and all that sort of stuff. And then they put it through our insurance, so we're paying for it anyway. So now you'll see, I think it's in the fire when it comes up, you'll see a massive increase. You'll see a large increase in physicals to that line item. So we're gonna contract with an entity that will do what we need them to do, and we're getting it from one person and not everyone's individual doctor.
So they'll all use one,
That's what the plan is right now. Yeah,
will that go through the union contract?
I don't know, but that's what they're. I haven't seen the change in those contracts yet. I don't know if it's gone through.
I think it was in the contract that was just, that
Right.
was approved, which is why we can budget it.
Is that right? Was it just approved?
I think it was in the
Oh.
last
All right.
contract. I mean,
And it's one provider that the guys all agree on, I'm assuming, right?
I think that was
Yeah.
an insistence in the contract. I mean, how could you budget it now if you didn't know that it was approved?
So this is also for other town hall employees.
Other town hall, so the fire is closer to something like 20,000.
This one's for Rick.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, town hall employees are contracted,
Uh,
not all.
no, I'm not.
No, I know.
Contracted out for what?
You should be-
Are we still talking about drug and alcohol?
No, I'm talking about fiscals.
Oh, no, that's, yeah.
the physicals are gonna, you'll see that in fire is probably close to 19, 20,000 going up.
Sure.
Because they're trying to get them to do it either once or twice a year. Definitely once, but from the same provider.
How can that be right? Shouldn't it the same provider for all town employees?
I think they're trying, because it was in contracts a certain way where they could go to their own doctor, it's trying to negotiate them back into contracts. But I'll get Cheryl to give us a quick.
There's a
rundown.
whole lot of good reasons why you want one.
Provide, oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
with that.
that's
I agree with you.
huge. As far as the employees, that's, you know, they have their own doctors. They have town insurance anyway. They're covered on the town, yeah. And
So it's kind of taking out of one pocket and
plan,
putting it into
so-
the other, you're not taking out insurance
Yeah.
claims anymore, you're putting it in your provider who's gonna give you the same person is gonna do the same test, so it's apples to apples.
Any other questions on HR?
It's a nice way of phrasing it.
No,
What? Apples to apples. Well, I mean,
An apple
one
a
doctor,
day.
well, yeah. You know, one doctor has a different opinion.
Or a different apple.
So IT, the IT budget is up 8.2%. This is due to the salary full-times line going up about 5%. Budget, again, so the FY '24 budget to the FY '23 revised budget is really only up 2.6%. And this is due to Sal DeLucia's promotion to IT project manager and also a new hire within the department.
Yeah.
The service contract line is up 7,000, which is due to an increase in 5,000 for Zoom costs and 2,000 for their extra already ongoing.
But isn't this issue with IT also Channel 79? There has to be a merger of information.
So I don't think 79 is included in the IT budget specifically.
No, but wouldn't IT have a budget component to that?
Not for 79. I mean, some of these may integrate with the needs of Channel 79. Like, I
Who's
think,
doing 79?
Bob Dorn?
Yeah, but who's doing the IT, the outsourcing for anything they need? Is that?
I don't know,
Carl's or-
that's the question.
Like, well,
so I know 79 comes in on the Zoom calls, and I've seen them send
Oh,
over
yeah.
someone when it malfunctions for them.
yeah.
I know Tucker speaks with Bob Dorn and kind of sets up a lot of that.
Could you
Cross
just
talk.
find out where the cross budgeting is between the two? Because there seems to be some level of coordination that's just not taking place.
Sure.
Underlying question is, should IT be assuming the responsibilities of just the video and everything else for the meetings?
Well, I think they do. I think they call in and come in when things implode. That week that systems went down, I think it was our IT taking care of that. And the meeting never did go up. Ours didn't, I think, maybe yours did.
I'm not sure what the
But I thought
mechanism
they were
exactly
working
is.
on it.
Can you just ask? Thanks.
So I'll say that Channel 79 TV is under the other agency's budget. This year,
Oh,
it's budgeted 38,000, which is the same as last year. And their actuals for the years prior were 29 and 29.
Is information technology with them here? With Channel 79?
No, that's in another,
Oh,
that's
okay.
in another department.
Okay.
I can bring that up after this. Any other questions on IT?
Good.
On to town clerk. So the town clerk's department is going up 4.5%. She is making room for a new full-time employee and reducing some of the lines in order to accommodate that. So she's reducing part-time by 38,000, reducing OT by 4,000, and bringing the salaries up 27%, which is, I think, about 30,000 of a net increase.
The salaries are going up 27.3%.
So the full-time salaries are going up
Yes.
27%, but the part-time is down 55%.
I see.
And the OT is
And that's
also down.
because you're adding a new full-time person.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
and that's a person with benefits?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so
Full-time
that's,
employee.
all right,
So
so,
it's not a good term to use these days.
no, it's absolutely fair term to use, but, salary is part-time minus 38. So is that somebody who's either leaving or retiring or?
Be transitioning,
So we have someone leaving,
All
and
right,
then we have a part-time person that's becoming full-time,
yes,
and then you have part-time seasonal person, people still
Oh, yeah,
left in the season.
absolutely, you have
Yeah,
to have
that's-
that,
that's
yeah.
the-
So in other words, so the person who is part-time who's becoming full-time, is that full-time person or
Yes,
another?
is
one?
that full-time
Well, that
person.
makes sense.
Yeah.
then. Okay, now I get it. All right.
So along with that is a drop of 4,500 in professional services, bringing it in line with what the past actuals have been. Office equipment, lease and rent, oh, I missed a number there. So office equipment, lease and rent is down 1,700, also to bring it more in line with what the past year's actuals have been. We really tried to do our best to like make room in this budget for that full-time employee by trimming it as lean as possible. And supplies office. So the registrar is taking over the budget for poll ballots, not mail-in ballots. So you'll see a reduction here for 11.2 thousand, and you'll see an increase, a corresponding increase on the registrar side of that same amount.
So the registrar will be sending out the absentee ballots?
No,
One,
so the registrar is taking over the budget for ballots used in person only,
Okay,
not absentee.
got it.
I
Thank
think
you.
they're called poll ballots,
Yes.
but I just say non-mail.
Got it, thank you.
Yes, the full-time, the clerk's salary is still to be determined.
The clerk.
yes, she's up, the town clerk, right, she's up for, her position in treasurer, selectman? Oh, treasurer, that's it, sorry, yeah.
Any questions on the clerk?
You mean the salary for this year coming up?
For the next 2 years,
Yeah, in other words,
the
at the
town
end of the
council
year.
determines the salary of the first selectman
Right.
and selectman and the town clerk.
But
and the
that's not in
treasurer.
this budget.
I said it's not in this budget.
Okay, got it, didn't you?
And do they also start in January when the new
Yes.
salaries take over?
Yeah,
So,
right. And
so
that has to be determined when we do this budget, because the
Right.
individuals need to know what the salary is
we're
before
running
they
for
run.
it. Yeah. Any other questions on town clerk? So you'll actually kind of see the half a year to full year budget of a elected official, I guess, the registrar, is that?
Mhm.
So they're going up on their full-time, well, it's part-time line, but it's really their full-time salaries. Up 14,000, which represents the 12 months of their new yearly rates. FY '23 was only 6 months of that yearly rate. Their canvassing is down 6,500 adjusted to reflect what the historic trends have been. Postage is also up 2,000 again, to be in line with what their historic rate trends are. Their supplies office are up, like we had talked about, the 11.2 thousand, as they're taking over those in-person ballots.
What is the registered voter salary?
I believe it's 40 and 40.
Is that going up?
It's not, it went up last year. It went up during the, it started January of this year, I suppose, like January 2023.
Yeah,
It got increased to 40,000 each. So in the FY '23 budget, it only raised by 14,000. And then now that for FY '24, it's that full increase to 40,000 for the entire year. So that's why it's up another 14,000.
so it's 40,000.
It has been 40,000 since January,
Okay.
Yes.
this January, like right
Which
Yes.
one is 40?
now.
Registrars.
The
Right.
registrar, each.
Each, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Any other questions on the registrar? Okay, on to health, pension, and OPEB and insurance. So the highlights on these are the contribution to the town health benefit fund. This is actually being kept flat over last year due to the decrease in total covered members by the health plan, as well as us utilizing some of the fund balance for the internal service fund that has been building up through the years, just good performance for the funds. On the town pension contribution, this is up 1,000 to reflect the recent recalculation for the required funding. The OPEB is increased 300,000. That's increased from 0 last year. We had it at 0, just due to the current state of the trust in regards to recent market conditions. And the 401A Board of Ed contributions. This is currently it's a placeholder that is just in line with what the historic trends have been. this number has to be just taken from the Board of Ed's number, the Board of Ed's budget, because this is the 401A employer contributions for the Board of Ed side. For the town side, those are baked into each of the budgets for the departments themselves. Any other questions on these three departments?
Yeah, Josh, I'm on the pensions committee on the Board of Finance. So, and I've sat through their presentations. What I found curious was that we contributed more in 21 and 22 to the pensions when those were better years for the stock market. And then last year was a bad year, and the contribution went down, and it's anticipated to only increase slightly. I understand that this is all based on their assumptions. It's Fidelity, I think, right, who does that for us, or one. But it just seemed counterintuitive to me that when there was a down stock market last year, that we're not contributing more, we're contributing less than historically from 2 years before. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on it.
So in talking with them, the 2 years prior where they were doing well, it has the smoothing in place.
Mhm.
So it dipped last year because even though the market went down at the point in time when because they do it on the same point in time every year, at that point, it was still high enough because it was 20,000, I forget what the number was, it was at 184 million at that point. That's the point of when the actuarial study was done.
Mhm.
Then now doing it as July 1st of 2022, that's the actuarial they're doing it now, but with the smoothing, we're not going to see as much a loss as we would based on the overall liability. And from explain it, so the overall liability, the funding maybe dropped maybe 2-3% in the ADAC. So the drop wasn't as much because of the smoothing and what we had already gained in those smoothing from the previous years.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. That you just refreshed my recollection by using the word smoothing. Yes, now I recall. So yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Okay, so on to parking. So parking is up 1.5%. This is due to a $7,000 increase in the salaries to overtime line. Right now, so parking used to have 4 parking enforcement officers, and they've since dropped down to 2. And in order for them to run the department at its most efficient, they need 2 people in the office at all times, or rather in the streets at all times. So what this $7,000 covers is what used to happen is on the weekend, when there'd be someone there on Saturday, would pull someone off of their normal operating hours during the week, and then they'd be working those hours on a Saturday. So this keeps 2 full-time parking officers during the week and adds in Saturday as well.
As overtime?
As overtime, yes. There is also a drop of 14,000 in outside contract services. So this is an expense that corresponds with how many parking tickets the town is issuing. It's a percentage of the dollar amount, I believe, from each of the tickets. So as ticketing has been trending downward, because we have great parkers, this expense also correspondingly goes down as well.
Who do we pay that to?
I think it pays to the ticketing service that we go through. I think it's either called Passport maybe, or Parkion.
That's what
It's
I'm
one
saying,
of
I'm not
those.
sure which one. We have a couple of different names for
And we
one.
may have just, I think we may have just switched to a different one of those companies. I think it's Passport.
So
Who
is
gets
that
the ticketing? Is that what you want to know?
salary overtime is
No,
overtime is the same two
just
people?
what the
Yes.
fee was
And they
for.
want you
Oh,
to-
thanks, the ticketing,
They
I'm
want to work
assuming
on
they're
that.
doing the mailing of the tickets?
When they have to come
Well,
in.
they were coming on Saturday
Oh, I see
anyway.
what you're saying, yes. And then that's-
They were coming on Saturday anyway, but they had to drop down to, for those 8 hours a week, one of them dropped out during the normal operating hours. So this is to keep them full-time during the week, and then one of them was.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Good for them if they're willing to do it. Well, I guess with the extra money, but still. Okay.
Any parking questions?
So when did it go from 4 to 2 full-time employees?
I think it dropped over the past few years.
It was
Yeah,
during-
but it looks like the full-time salary budget really hasn't changed.
I think it's been before this time.
Okay.
I can check back if you want further on.
No, it just, when you said it went from 4 to 2, I was looking for a drop by 1/2.
I've been here about 2 years and I've only known 2 to be here, so it's probably from before that.
See, 19.
Okay. Thanks.
So on to debt service, contingency and transfers. So debt service, we're keeping or expecting to keep flat for this year. Contingency, we are, let's see, up 113,000, and this is due to the upcoming town hall union contract negotiations. So the raises for those town hall union employees are not baked into the department budget. They're built into the salary contingency line.
Did we always, no,
And the transfer to tax support capital is up 1.8 million. So as you'll know, last year we utilized the bond premium to basically knock out almost all except for 230,000 of our tax supported capital. And so this is kind of just a return back to what that number traditionally is. I think it hovers around 2 million to 1.5 million, and right now at least it's 1.8. Sorry, that number 1.6 is probably an old number. It's closer to 1.8 right now.
So I was sort of curious, maybe this is something that comes with the greater detail when it goes to the full Board of Finance, but do you have information as to the level of indebtedness of the town over time, and also the assumptions as to the interest that we're going to be paying on those bonds? Because these are just, you know, numbers, but they don't have the underlying detail.
So what we typically do is we come up with the 5-year plan. And, I'm sorry, are we on the tax support or are we on the bonded?
The question was about the debt
Bonded,
service.
the debt service, okay, I just want to make sure when I was looking at tax. So what happens is, we come up with it and we approve it, but that's not the number, as you know, that's not what's bonded. So we might see $12 million. So what I've been doing is meeting with Tiger to say, of these projects that were approved, what's actually going to get done in the next year? Because I have to bond within 18 months of the project being completed. So I then have to move the numbers around to say, yes, this is 12 million might have been approved, but I'm actually only going to bond 5 because that's all that's going to get done because it's ongoing. So we're coming up with that schedule now based on the current 5-year plan and trying to bring the police station in. But very high level right now, this year it's coming down slightly. Next year, it should come down another, without anything else happening. Without anything else happening, it should just, the regular debt should come down about another million or so. By 2026 or 27, I think it's down to close to 10 or 11 million, where we're now at 17.
Right, and that's exactly what I was sort of interested in, and from, you know, the meetings, the Board of Finance meetings, I've heard that about the general trend, but I don't know that I've ever actually seen the numbers as to the total
We'll go
indebtedness.
over them.
Yeah,
We
we'll
do,
go-
in detail.
They go over
In
it.
nauseam.
Right.
Okay, all right, I've only been on board 1 year, so maybe I slept through.
Loans, isn't it?
Well, no, that depends on the market.
Right,
But no, we
exactly.
go over, you know, all our assumptions.
Right, because you have to know
Yeah.
exactly what your debt is, even though you might be approving
That's right.
20 million, you're not gonna bond that 20 million that first year to have that major hit. It's when the project's
That's
completed.
right, yeah.
Okay, I'll stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
But we keep spending money.
People never go down.
It's just, well, yeah, but I mean, now we're what, you know, we come to 223, that went up hugely from what we expected.
220.
The building.
220 on?
220.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 220. I mean, yeah, it's all these things that you don't capture that all of a sudden they're there.
Yeah, they're there.
Any questions on these 3? So, any questions overall on expenditures before we move on to revenue?
The only expenditure portion that I haven't seen in this is the liability insurance for the buildings, the cars, equipment, all that. And where is,
So that should be that's in the same slide as the health, pension, OPEB, and insurance.
Insurance.
I didn't broach the subject, I think that's where it would be. Only because it starts with health insurance.
I believe it, so
It's-
it's three, yeah, it's three different.
It's three different groupings under it. On the bottom one, the liability insurance is going up 3% right now.
And have we had any claims in the last year?
Yeah,
Very
it's
small,
nothing major now.
nothing right now.
So is that the insurance blanket coverage?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And for municipalities right now, the umbrella policies and the cybersecurity policies are the ones taking the biggest hit. I remember when first, like probably 3 years ago, when they started asking me to get cybersecurity, they only cover up to 250,000, which is nothing. It
right.
was like $4,000 for that coverage. Now they're requiring, this is the coverage you need, and this is what you actually have to have in place in your cybersecurity protocol. So it's almost tripled some of the cybersecurities 2 years ago and a year ago.
So my question is the town municipal liability insurance and the cyber policy?
They're all in
All in
together.
one?
Yeah, there are different policies on your.
Right,
the same
right,
one,
but
right.
it's relevant.
Yes.
So that's the entire premium, it's almost $500,000? No, over $600,000?
Yes, just about six.
No.
Excuse me.
Okay, it's up 3%, okay. So I have a question, I hope it's part of the revenue. So when we sell or trade a vehicle, regardless of whether it's a car, a snowplow, whatever, is that revenue shown in this? Do
So
you
sale of
track it?
assets, I think usually happens in DPWs.
Yeah.
Accounts
You
or
know,
else.
you do it. And it's a revenue account for sale of assets.
Yeah.
So unless they know they're going to sell a machine or a truck, they don't usually budget for sale of an asset, but if it comes in, there is a line item that we designate out in revenues, specific to the sale of an asset.
So if it's a police car, it's in the Department of Public Works?
No,
No.
the police would be different. Typically what happens with the police, they'll trade in the car on the new car they're getting as a replacement and get, sometimes it's 5,000 off as a trade-in value of the old car. That wouldn't go in there.
Okay,
They put it onto, what is it, gov.bids.gov? Yeah,
Yeah.
so they put it out to bid
Mhm.
on a government site to bid out, and then any sale comes in, we put it in sale of assets, and then we have to track a fixed asset for that asset too.
but I know that the fire department did not put their fire truck on that site.
They did not have to see how they bid it out or what they did. Let me take a look.
So the question is, do you track the sale and trades of vehicles?
Yes, not
Okay.
within this general government budget. It would either be within the department's budget or DPW.
The reason why I'm asking is because when you talk about the municipal liability insurance that encompasses all the insurance on all the vehicles, as vehicles get replaced, some vehicles have to drop off. Were we just increasing the number? That's what we're seeing, the increase in
Oh, no,
premium.
they track it because to get the new car, they have to have a new registration on it.
Right,
And the insurance company wants that every year to say, are these your buildings? Are these your vehicles? What did you have?
okay.
So that it has an upgraded list on it. And then at some point, we have to start comparing it to previous fixed assets. We could do a fixed asset audit to make sure everything fits off. But every time you register a new vehicle, that goes to get it onto the insurance policy.
Okay, so 220 on this building, we're only insuring our portion of it. And then the rest is being insured by somebody else.
I'm assuming by we're a co-op,
It's a
so
co-op.
it's insured through the co-op.
Is the town notified as an additional insured
I don't know.
that the policy is active or not?
Well, I can say for contractors and all that, when we get their insurance, we get their certificate of insurance, I have to follow up on that, I'm not sure, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, and also for the towing contract, whether or not the town is still an additional insured? That's
For the towing,
yeah.
All right, on to revenues. So starting with the finance department, I grouped a couple of these together, the smaller ones. So starting with the finance department, interest on investments is up 400,000.
Oh, my apologies, you have an old version of my document. Andrew came back and came up with another
Sure,
200,000.
it should be
Yeah.
700 in yours, it's at
It's
900
at
now.
900 now, so you'll get the updated one.
Yep, just due to the improving market
Market
conditions.
right now.
Okay.
Also, rental of property, and my slide is actually a payroll too.
Finance,
Yeah.
after revenue,
Mhm.
the other two sides maybe.
No,
Oh, that's it?
yeah, that's okay.
I'm so sorry. I did one side.
So rental of property finance, that's up. It should be 380 now, that's an increase, so it's up 180,000, and that's due to the rental of 220 Elm to the Board of Ed.
The rental.
So 220 out they're gonna pay for the cost of the building and the retro, the fit out plus the monthly maintenance fees.
So it's gonna go in their budget.
They have it in their budget, we're gonna have it as revenue, and then the offset for us, what they're paying back is the debt service down below
Okay.
and the management fees.
So increases for the tax, or well, not increase, but revenue for the tax assessor, that is the state property rebate. So that's being brought down from 101,000 to 76,000. It's not really something that can be really counted on or predicted, so we went with just a 5-year average of what we've been receiving for that. I know Sebi is pretty nervous about putting a number there in general, since he thinks it can drop off at any moment. But we talked him into a 5-year average, so that is that. Tax
Hey,
collection.
Josh, could you go back one page I just had a question, one more question on the finance page. Yeah, the sale of assets, the 17,000, I guess it's now up to 15,000. Does that include the sale of the vehicles that Christina was referring to earlier or not?
Only if, police will turn over, so police will usually put it into the purchase of a new one, but if they sell it outright, it would go in here.
Okay, that was the question, because I think we had budgeted to buy a new fire engine, right? And we were gonna sell the old one. So the question is, does that come into this budget, or does that stay in the fire department budget?
That actually would go into, that would probably, if we're doing it as a resale, and I'll have to follow through on that, that's a good question. That would not go into the general fund. I have to get into like a bonded capital, if we're gonna bond the machine, the engine. I need that revenue, that sale of assets to be available, so it would have to either sit in a special projects account or in the bonded capital, because that basically never died per se, like a 1-year budget. So I'll ask the fire chief about that one.
Okay, thank you. I meant the dump truck, not the fire truck. Yeah.
I have asked at the meetings, the fire chief, that question, and I was told that when the sale of the engine is put through, that the money goes back into their budget. And I have a problem with
Boy,
that.
I don't recall that at all.
I would
You
go back
sure
and look
that's
at
what he
budget.
said?
Yeah,
Really? I
and I
don't
don't,
know.
and I asked whether it was publicized, and they said it was, and they only got a bid, and that was Santos, and the truck was sold for under $5,000.
But into their budget, where? I mean, into
Where does it?
into their
So it's
gratuitous budget as
something
if
they
you
sold.
gave.
I'll
Yeah.
check with the fire chief, because I'm not up to date on
That's
that one,
not,
sorry.
that doesn't sound right to me. That really doesn't sound right, but it's worth asking. But that would be like a donation. It's the same, because that's all they have. That's their budget. That's all they have. Unless he means their budget on this.
I mean, they
But
can't
that's
turn it,
not
yeah, they
our
can't turn it
budget.
around and put it into their,
No.
their expenses side. It would have to, if they knew they were gonna sell it in a particular year, they could put it here as a budgeted item. But, we'll find out.
I'm just asking because
That's
I didn't understand it, and I didn't question
I
it.
know, that's how it's going now.
Yeah.
They only got 5,000 for an inch.
It was under Santos for it.
Wow. Santos, our Santos? Oh, gosh, really?
Yeah, from his airport in Denver.
Oh, sorry, we're not talking a fire truck, right? That's what I'm thinking. We're talking a truck from DPW,
No,
a fire truck.
We're talking a,
What does it say?
Yeah.
one of the real fire trucks? Yeah. Wow, oh my God.
Yeah, how'd you find that out?
I asked.
So his airport, his what in Denver?
Personal airport.
His personal.
He owns the airport,
Oh, he
and
did.
he didn't have a fire truck.
Oh, how smart of him. That was clever.
That was Santa.
Oh, I'll tell you, if it amazes me.
My amazement was that if you have a fire truck that is perfectly working for the town, why wouldn't you auction it off? And if worst case scenario, donate it to a foreign country if that's what you want to do.
They have, I think in the past they have.
They have auctioned them off.
I
They
think they
put
have.
them online and auctioned them
Right.
off. I don't know how this transaction worked.
I don't know. I
They may have
recall,
given them away.
Yeah, I haven't heard this.
I haven't heard this, that's why I'm like, I'll look into it, but it will.
Yeah.
what amazes me and what I'm thinking of doing is, before we replace the hoses on a truck, find out if it's going to be reordered or ordered the next year, because that was $20-something thousand on the hoses. And then the following year or 18
I thought
months
they
later.
reused the good parts of a fire truck. No?
Who knows?
Oh, all good questions.
I think when a new fire truck is ordered, it comes with new hoses.
I would think so. Yeah, but you know, when we have a, three-way fire and it's all these different towns, they always have backup equipment. Well, it's a good question to ask in the fire. Yeah, I have no idea. That's new to me. All right.
So I'm down to the tax collector. Obviously, the tax collection's current is a moving number. So pretty
Yeah,
much
that's
disregard the
not-
number you have and what I have as well. That just changes as the budget itself changes. There isn't really any other increases in tax collector. We always budget the prior years at 300,000, and the liens, fees, and interest is also staying flat at 250. The insurance liability, the workers' comp offset is staying flat. And the member equity on my slide is actually also off. So that got just recently moved to 50,000 because it's a range between 25 and 125. And it's one of those things that's too hard to predict, really. Any questions on those before going to parking? Okay. So parking is up 4% on the revenue side. Parking permits is being raised to 500,000, which is 20,000 over last year, and another 20,000 over for parking meters. We think that parking is kind of slowly coming back to what it was pre-COVID, and
The lots look a little fuller.
yeah. which is
Are we
good.
back to charging what we were, or are we still discounting?
I believe so.
I think we're back.
Are we? I thought, well, there was, the last
haven't heard.
discount wasn't a lot, but I didn't know if they were continuing. No?
So for the parking permits, there's 480 deferred permits that hopefully are going to be, at least a portion of them, reinstated. And the meters is being brought closer to what the historical trends are. So any questions on parking before moving to town clerk?
So we assume that a lot of people who've been on the waiting list will actually want the parking permits.
Right, that is the assumption, yes. At least
Yeah.
a portion of them.
I think a lot of people are working from home and happy to work from home and not take the train. So I wonder if that's going to happen.
The full parking permit is still the full parking permit. In other
Yeah,
words,
I'm
it's not
wondering-
a 3-day or 2-day, right?
But maybe we should do that.
Well, that's just another thought. That's just another concept. Because you oversell them anyway. So if you know that somebody's buying 3-day, you can calibrate how many more you could sell. I mean, that's worth at least looking at.
So on to the town clerk. I think my spreadsheet it may be up to date. I think we moved the conveyance fees down to, what's that?
It's gotta go down.
So that's down, I think this is after we raised it. We moved it down to 1.3 and we recently raised it to 1.5. So I think this is the correct number,
Okay.
which is down from 2 million that was budgeted last year.
Mhm.
The actuals from 22 were 2.3, 21 were 2.8, but we of course kind of expect a downturn year to date, right now, we're almost at 1 million, probably at 1 million right now, with only halfway through the year. So that would be a nice boon, but,
Right.
you know, we see that trend going down and we try to at least budget pretty conservatively, I think, for this. The other changes are really pretty nominal. The copier revenue is up 15,000, miscellaneous income is up 300.
Yeah.
But the,
Copier revenue.
because people coming in asking for copies of.
Oh,
documents.
okay, got it.
And online.
Any questions on town clerk? So there aren't many capital projects with general gov, of course. The assessor is planning for their 2023 townwide reval. In 23, the expected cost for the entire project was 300,000, so we budgeted half up front, and we were going to do 150,000 for this year. So we approved the 150, and just due to staffing costs related to the reval, we've readjusted the FY24 budget ask to 215,000 since it's a full reval. I think this is the first time in 10 years that we've done a full reval, and the staffing costs were projected out.
Like the first time in 10 years. 5 years.
No, you have to do it.
You
It's
do
required.
the full reval every 10, and then the
Yeah.
5th year you do a statistical. It's like half the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Half the cost
Well,
or half
it
the
has to
work?
work because it's solely based on sales. When you go for a reval, the full reval, they go out of the house, they send them, you know, they do the
Right.
whole 9 yards, but the statistical is just based on sales and areas.
And
they go
don't
back.
catch
Which
all
is
the
this one.
illegal.
This is a
permits.
full reval.
No, I really do not understand that. When they go to somebody's house and they know that there's an illegal apartment, why is that not noted?
I don't know.
How do they
I mean,
know?
They
Oh,
can't,
you can tell.
from the, well, sometimes some of the people don't let them in, right? That's the other, but if you could tell from what they've done or if they pull
The
permits.
people
But
report
most of the time they
it, they
don't.
report it left and right. But is it really an illegal apartment if it's your own house? See, this is the question that always was.
So if you're
If
charging
it's
by
your
it
own
is.
what?
Well, if you're charging rent, but you're also hiring people at, far below cost, and you're giving them a garage apartment to live in.
Well, what's the
So-
difference between that and another person renting a room or 2 rooms in their house?
Well, it's been an
That's
issue forever.
that's an accessory apartment, and that's legal.
But maybe we should just put the word out that it may be to their benefit to claim it as an accessory building.
But in order to do that, though, you gotta meet codes and acts.
See, you have all the permits in place that you should have had in the first place.
Well, the thing
And
is,
whether or
it
not
used-
They are.
it used to be, and I don't know if
You're
it still
getting,
is.
I mean, I
If there
know.
was any suspicion, you would tell the building inspector and they would ask to do an inspection of the premises. But that's really up to the building inspector to do.
And then it's, if you put it on because you think, then they have to come back and fight that assessment value, they'll get a notice on.
Right.
But this is gonna be strange this year because values are up so much, the market could swing quickly depending upon all the layoffs and the displacement.
It's gonna be a hard year.
It's gonna be a very hard year. I mean, Chase just sent out an alarming signal.
Who?
Chase Manhattan, oh, that was huge. And he did it both here and he did it at Dallas.
I thought it
He
was
did it
Jamie.
twice and I thought,
I thought it was Jamie Dimon who
it
sent
was
out
Jamie,
the.
it was Jamie, yeah.
All right,
So onto IT, they really have just their recurring annual costs. It's IT, hardware, software, and WAN hardware software are usually 80,000 a year. The 130,000 for hardware, software, IT is incorporating a one-time required buy of Microsoft licenses that they're just required to purchase for the town. And then that returns back down to 80 a year. And an additional, I think it's a new line, the cybersecurity mitigation, which is going to be a recurring annual expense of 40,000. And this is just a necessary thing for us to be insured.
That's required to be.
Right, yeah, to get
Is
insurance.
the WAN required? The
No,
that's just our own.
that's our internet, and
Yeah,
it's pretty required.
We went from revenues to capital projects.
Yes.
So
whatever.
not revenues.
Well, so that was it for really revenue.
Okay, okay.
What was the revenue I asked you about the other night in Board of Finance? And you said you booked it, and I went back and I couldn't figure out what you meant afterwards. What was the issue? God, isn't that awful? I could go back and look. But at the time I checked it, I couldn't figure out how that got booked. But I'm sure it's here somewhere, and I can't remember what it was, so. I will.
Okay, I'm drawn.
I know I'm drawing a blank, but I will.
So any questions on these so far?
No.
I think we're-
You have more?
If you want more, I got more. So,
Your head was this one.
so we can go, so land use is typically under general gov. It's being presented by Brian Class, because there's been so many changes in that department. I'm not sure if I should, there aren't,
Tiger, go over it?
No, he said it. He's not sure it's gonna be his anymore,
Right.
so it looks like it's yours.
It was the last presentation.
It's a football.
yeah, so I can say, let me see, I can probably share my screen. It's gonna be a little bit less easy to see.
Can you email me that?
Okay.
All right.
We're
So,
gonna be getting it in our whole packet.
Yeah, because there's still changes moving.
so,
Yeah, but I want to see what is being negotiated, because if I don't have it from it, I can't tell you.
so land use, there really are not any changes on the revenue side.
Where are you here?
Sorry, right
It says,
here.
okay, so it's.
I know it's on the
building. All
hardware
right.
side to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see, let me get a little bit bigger without making it too big. One sec.
Okay, no, that's better, yeah.
Okay, there we are. So there aren't really any changes to the land use revenue side. Last year for building permits was 1.1 million, and this year we've expected closer to 850, and we're staying flat with that for this coming year.
Josh, I just want to use this as an example with land use.
Sure.
When we're looking at inland wetlands and we're seeing $30,000 in violation, how much is it costing us in legal fees?
So that's a good question. There is a breakdown of legal fees by those departments. When you look in the actuals of, just bring it up here.
Planning and zoning or zoning board of appeals?
No, inland wetlands.
Oh. Year to date for now is 13,000. 13,700.
Right, so,
13, so say.
Year to date just in 23.
so inland wetlands, yeah, 13, and it was 7 in 22. 7,022.
7,000.
Okay, so that doesn't include, I would assume, experts coming in? I'm
The
just
legal fees-
wondering, because certain departments way back, used to drive astronomical legal fees. And the question is, when you look at the revenues, I think we should look at what the actual department is costing us. And whether or not, it's a positive or a minus for the town. I'm using inland wetlands as an example. It could be PNC or zoning board of zoning and appeals, but whatever it is, I think it's important to see what the expenditure is on the legal side when you're looking at revenues.
Christina, I was on inland wetlands for 15 years. I think part of it is that it's set by state statute as to what can be charged for applications. So there may be other boards where there's more flexibility in terms of covering the costs. I don't think inland wetlands is one that's probably ripe for that.
Not my recollection.
I'm just talking about when we look at revenues, as if it's income coming in, what is the cost of that in the filing of those? And that is not something that's regulated. And if it is, I'd like to know what the fees are and how our fees stand to that.
Well, if you look at P and Z, that's the one that's obviously.
But we know PNC,
Yeah.
the hurdles that they've encountered. I just would like to see for all the departments what the legal fee breakdown is for each of them.
So beyond this list.
Yeah, you're showing revenue and I want to see what the actual expenditure.
Well, this is the expense
Oh,
for legal fees by department.
So that's why I said
So
that's
in the actuals,
obvious one,
in the
yeah.
actuals, it gets broken out from the professional service legal to the department that it gets billed to.
so the professional legal is the retainer.
Well, so
No, and then
we budget all of the legal, budget into professional legal services. And when we actually pay the bills, it gets divided out into the other departments.
Okay, if you go to this one here, we'll show you, like, here's the professional services, here's all the departments. Go to, I don't know how many pages, about 5 or 6 pages, 6 or 7 pages in, go to the legal area. It's after tax collector. So, yeah, this would be your budget, and then it's broken down. So we do it as one number, as Josh said, to break it, to budget as one number, and then these are the categories.
Okay.
Any other questions on land use revenue? So land use, let me just find that real quick here.
7, or,
Well, I'm just going on the rest. of the
oh, okay,
sheet.
yeah.
So, there we are. Land use on the expense side is up 7.25%, which is mainly due to the professional services line, which is going up 25,000 to do with the POCD that's taking place for next year.
For the sewer study?
I believe.
No,
Just the general?
the POCD, you
Yeah.
said.
Well, that's more than 25,000. What's the professional services for? That, you're using the same person as I understand it.
Professional service, 132.
It's 132.
Oh,
so it's
okay,
increasing
okay,
that.
all right. I was just gonna say it's more than 25,000.
Yeah, no,
Okay, there it is, all
the
right.
increase is 25.
Yeah, okay, that's, yeah.
And other than salary
Yeah, part-time.
and part-time, there's just an increase in part-time. I'm not sure if these numbers, they're obviously in flux because of
Yeah.
land use being in flux.
Well, we have a lot of, copying, the scanning,
Right.
there's a lot of paperwork. So they are possibly looking into a new system that's automated
And online.
and online, so all the documents be kept online, can be scanned in, so there's not a lot of paperwork in the background. So they're looking at that product right now, that'll come
For public access.
for everybody. And it'll streamline it, like a one-stop shopping where it goes through every department that needs to see it, sign up on the tax collector, sign off on the file. So we're looking at that process. So somebody actually could do it from just their desk and not come into the office.
So somebody has to scan it. All those documents.
Well, from what we saw, it's like if you're applying for a building permit, the person applying can scan in
Can
and
upload
upload
everything into
those
it.
images of
Yeah.
these documents, which then workflow over to the person to approve and then workflow over to the next person. I mean, it looks pretty
It
good.
looked pretty
It's
good, actually,
seamless.
yeah, it
It
was.
seems like it belongs in, 20th century, 21st century.
It does, and anybody can look, you can go in and sign in and see.
Yeah,
the
you can
documents.
kind of see where in the process your permit is. Yeah, and it hopefully talks well with our accounting software, which takes some manual labor off our front. Yeah. Any questions on the land use?
So with regard to the professional service fees on that, where it's 137,000 or 132,000, does that include the legal fees for the town's response to the 830G applications?
No, so those would all be in
Yeah.
in here, the planning and zoning line under the legal department.
Okay,
Yeah, I mentioned that was really, yeah, and it's gonna continue.
yeah, that seems low to me from, you
Yeah,
know,
it's gonna be.
No, so the
It's gonna-
80,000, I think, is the year to date.
Oh, that particular,
For
yeah,
next, we don't really
It's not
budget
done.
on a.
Not even
Oh, you don't
close.
budget, you don't want to tell the
Well,
attorney? how
we
much?
don't budget on a per department
Per
basis.
Yeah, no.
Because it's hard
of
to
course not.
know how it's.
General.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's the $100,000 difference,
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
Any questions on general gov okay. So I can show the slide for library.
All
I
right.
can't speak to it in great length. But I do have it here. So the ask from the town is up 4.7% to, from 2.56 million to 2.68 million. This is kind of a breakdown of their costs. I know she presented, Lisa, presented it for the Board of Selectmen, and I'm assuming we'll be back for the next boards and town council to kind of provide a better, just more detail on what comprises each of these lines and the thought behind how
Can you
they're
march that
divided
in?
up. Sure. So this is their revenue side. I don't, at the moment, have much info in terms of their staffing or things of that nature. But I think she's gonna be hopefully bringing some of that information in, hopefully before the next time she comes in, so we can kind of spread that.
So what is missing?
What detail?
Well,
No,
it's
I
just
mean,
a
what
more,
is missing on the Board of Selectmen request? What was their,
their request is 2.6 million. Nothing was missing per se.
I mean, on the detail, what did? they
Well,
ask?
just really what comprises, the facilities budget or what
Oh, sure.
comprises the compensation collection.
What's the capital reserve?
I think that's the money they put aside for any maintenance capital on the library through the year.
Josh, do we do the payroll for the employees?
No, we
No,
don't.
no,
For the
they're on
library.
our insurance, but we don't do this payroll.
Health insurance,
Yeah,
workers' comp insurance?
good question. I know they're on our health. I have to see if they're on
I'm
our
pretty sure they're on workman's
comp as well.
I'm pretty sure.
And pension as well?
But no, they're not entitled to pension coming in, only the few that are left.
Left.
How many are left? One or two? They're almost all gone.
Well, there's a couple still on.
Two, right? Wouldn't that be two?
So,
Well, intentional.
Oh, on pension, I'm sorry, you said pension, yes,
No, I
you're right,
said-
I'm sorry, I'm
It's
thinking
only,
healthcare.
yeah, I'm thinking there's only like.
There's not many
workers' comp.
Yeah,
The workers' compensation.
no,
So-
workman's comp, they had, one person that was really sick. Is she still, on our? Let's see what details.
And why are we covering that?
Office or part health insurance.
Huh? No. Why are we covering that,
Covering what?
their health? and all that
Because
stuff?
they dropped it at some point and it was, I
They could get a
forget.
better rate by being on with us.
Yeah, so then.
Yeah, but
Yeah, they get a better rate, but why is the taxpayers paying for it?
Well, it was a big, it was
No,
a
I
big-
It's kind of hurt because then.
You were on the
it's down
town
low
council.
and it's hard to-
And I think I had the same question.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I don't know who's on first.
I just have a real problem with this whole relationship with the library. We pay 75% of their budget, right? And we have no control over what they do.
Plus the healthcare.
We have no control over their programming. We have no control over how many employees they hire.
Go on down. I don't believe, when did we ever pay for programs? Why is it, what programs on it? Did we ever pay for programs?
Programs are part of their
It's their operating
But
This is all within their budget of what it is to come down to their ask for us.
Yeah, but we haven't paid for that in the past, have we?
We have, it's part of their operating.
It's
budget.
part of their budget, this is them coming up with their budget and saying this is why they're asking the town for X because they're not getting as much in donations or, so this is explaining.
So how many of these are new expenses? Is the program a new ask?
No, I think the
It's
total
expanded.
programs is a roll-up of the programs that they have.
They're expanding their programs.
But from 45 to 83?
Sure. Have a bigger building, they're gonna fill it with programs.
Wow.
Is that what we expected to be doing?
You'd have to go back and listen to the tapes. I don't remember that being discussed.
I
but-
think Chris Labrie can elaborate on that. if he wants.
Well, I will. No, I will.
I don't know, pardon me, I just have a real problem with the relationship between the town taxpayers paying for 75% of their operations and we have no control over what they do in their building.
But we could put a freeze on employees, the numbers.
How many employees do they have?
Who knows?
I don't know, and
And I don't know how many are on the health insurance system.
Well, they would be if they're full-time, just like everybody
When they were
else, or
selling their-
part-time with
when-
benefits.
When they were selling their new building to us, they told us that there would not be an increase in staffing
They did, that's right.
Or costs, operational
or
costs.
operational costs, and that there was a decrease in utilities because they have this famous all-electric building in a state which has the highest,
That almost wasn't electric building.
and the
And
gas
the
line
solar-
goes, gas line goes right up their back side. Yes.
You know, it's an interesting, I don't know what the outcome was, but solar got put into the building after some of us raised it as an issue. And the person that coordinates it for the town coordinates for the library. I'm just wondering, the exchange, the cost of utilities, will that decrease for us at the percentage level of us putting in the solar or getting it to that level? How it, I just don't know.
Tom will tell.
So is this the last part?
that's it.
You emailed this to us, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, it's on your, yeah.
So can I ask you to email that?
No, she did, it's on your,
No, the big one?
The big one.
Oh,
Right
oh.
there.
what are we doing? Are we picking them up or are we doing them totally online?
So after the
Because it
board of
got so
selectmen
crazy last
votes
year.
on it,
Yeah.
we were gonna send out an email, probably with the digital version, put it on the tablets as well. And, ask if anyone wants to pick up a hard copy of it. We'll print
So we
out.
will be getting that, yeah.
Okay.
Right, after board of selectmen do it there tomorrow.
Did any of my other ones show up?
They're not
Just
gonna change
for the
anything.
record here. Did Bettina or Kaufman or Naughton show up? Mark's not
Thank
on.
you so
are
much. Lou.
they? I thought Mark was on.
He
He's on.
was, yeah.
So these three didn't come, right?
So are you writing the minutes?
Well, it's gonna be a sentence.
Okay, but then it's for, both the finance and the.
Well, you don't have all the answers.
Oh,
Neither
yeah.
do I.
Yeah, you'd like to do it.
Madam-
Oh, no, well, yeah,
No,
I know. I have no,
Nobody did
I have no.
And you put that, there be someone from Island.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, and bye-bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.